Sorry. Anyway, we shall continue on with this and see if I can't pop something in. I'll replace it with the recording in a little bit. In fact, I think this is going to just be a test for the live stream on YouTube. Anyway, so I'll continue on with this and see if I can't. I need something in. I'll replace it.
Oh, we've got an echo of some kind, Brett.
I think I just managed that.
Okay.
So
I just wanted to acknowledge that John was really with you for like the first 230 episodes or something. And
yes.
he was the originator of the support system that even began this whole thing. And
because I should acknowledge Trevor Tardif, who couldn't make it tonight.
Oh, okay.
So he was there. So
I didn't know that.
It started with Trevor Tardif, and then John, and then you, Patty. So that's sort of.
So yes, I'm third.
Yep,
and
you're the
third. Have been here for doing this a little over a year now. So I did want to know, Blair, do you want to announce your IBC? Since
yes.
we're recorded, we have new dates, and Brent, I hope you got the memo on that.
The corrected dates, yes. So we're going to be offering an IBC training in starting August 1st through 3rd. It's 6 days. So those are the first 3 days, and then 15, 16, and 17. So
IBC can be done by itself, but it is part of my model method coach certification. Am I understanding that correctly, Blair?
Absolutely, you are.
Okay.
So we can break that up. Yeah, I'm just looking for, pardon me. Do you have,
could you post in the chat the link for people to schedule with Blair if they would like to talk about joining the IBC training?
Yeah. Actually, I think Zoom, right. That's, yeah, there we go. It's a discovery session right there for plug that in, book it in, and specify IBC so that I can do a quick interview with you. Brent, I believe you've taken IBC before. Great. So one of the things that you can do is audit it again at no cost. So that's something that I'll extend to you at this time. And Patty is going to be there helping out. Reza is going to be there as a student. And if there's other people that would like to be there as well, feel free to let me know and we'll move forward. So Jackie, I don't know if your hand went up or just to scratch your head or do something else. Anyway, yes. Okay, so you've got the link. We'll talk. Okay, book in a call with me and we'll get some time to chat. Okay, Patty, can I throw it over to you and we can start going through the episode 300 here?
Sure. This is a retrospective, and we saw in the video that there are a number of people whose lives have been impacted by my models. And so we'd really like, if you have a specific time or situation where you used my models and they shifted you or your situation. I've heard from various people how they've been used, but if you have something you could share along that way. Dr. K, I see you nodding. Do you have some thoughts? No thoughts from Dr. K. All right.
Okay.
I can tell you for me that starting with the 3 E's was a really, really impactful thing for me in terms of shifting out of depression, and then learning self-acceptance, learning to recognize when I was in the past and getting myself to the present. all of those things really, really made a difference. And I had been over 10 years on and off medication, and, talk therapy did no good at all. This shifted me. I think I had 12 private sessions with Blair over the course of 4 months. And at the end of that, it's been 6 years, and I have not gone back into that present darkness, so to speak. So yes, that's quite a victory, but it's doable. We do have the power of choice. We can choose how close to the dark hole we want to get, whether we want to jump in or peek in or move away or whatever. So I know that's been a big one for me. Zach, you've shared how mind models affected or impacted your relationship with yourself and with others. Could you share some of that with us tonight?
Sure, yeah. I think it's something that kind of has blown my mind since learning more and more about mind models is more or less naming and labeling. It's like before I met Blair, I already had some effective behaviors that I learned more or less the harder way than the mind models. But they having the actual mind models, it's a way to get clarity on those effective thoughts and behaviors, right? And so it's almost like all the mind models are naming and labeling.
Yeah.
And so with that, now I can do it on purpose, right? With intention. And so when I'm thinking about, like, with my all forms of relationships, right? So I've got friends and business partners, I've got kids, I have an ex-wife, I have a girlfriend. All of those are relationships that need to be handled obviously differently in a variety of ways, but the mind models really help me to navigate that and to catch myself before I start going into judgment and going that route. So huge impact. And I still use them today. My kids still, I don't let them use the word why. So, and they try to use disguised what's, and I catch them on that too. So it's been amazing. Absolutely. Sorry. It's been super effective.
We could take amazing. Amazing doesn't sound judgmental at all.
Amazingly effective.
Thank you. I think we could take that. So yes, Shane.
Chrissy, my wife, I joined before her, and then she'd listen in the living room, and then she'd pop in, and then finally just got her on. It's changed our relationship. I mean, we've had a strong, healthy relationship. We married 28 years with 4 grown daughters and 4 granddaughters. But it's just helped in those relationships as well. But the 3 E's and a lot of it, and even she caught me today. She's a woman. She has too many clothes in her closet, and her closet was falling down. So I had to help fix the closet, and I was using the why, and she's like, "Hey, can't use the why." And so I still get caught doing that, but getting out of that why loop and changing those speech patterns definitely helps make it more effective behavior. I've got naming and labeling. She's got to go in the background. Naming and labeling. Another one is an Anantu. Really is a lot one.
Yeah, can you specify that for people who may not recall that? Or
awareness notice. I have process understanding. Is that right? Is the P right?
Yes, process. Yes.
Process understanding. So awareness notice, process understanding. And then another one I don't really know. I've got self other situation around, and I don't really know what mind model this kind of goes to, because there's a lot of them. But figuring out or asking myself, who owns the problem? Mm-hmm. Is that part of the self other situation? Yeah. Who owns that problem? Is it my problem that I'm dealing with, or is it a problem that somebody else is dealing with that they're trying to dump on me? So that's, and I mean, we've got 2 of the adult kids, and they're all 4 of them are married, but 2 of the grandkids, or 2 of the husbands are around and dealing with all those different personalities, these mind models have been gloriously improved our life.
Super. Super.
Okay.
Now,
John, I
what I
wondered if you could
go
share
ahead.
how, I'm sorry, did I miss
Go ahead.
someone? John, I wondered if you could share how my models have impacted you in business specifically, because you've taken a new direction here.
Sure. Business specifically. Well, I feel like I got to do a little bit of history.
Yeah,
So
please.
I discovered mind models. I first came on the Blair Dunkley experience about I think a month and a half after I first heard about mind models, heard Blair speak, and it was at one of the most difficult times of my life. In fact, it was like less than 2 weeks after my mother had passed away. So and that was not the worst of what was going on, but that it was a difficult time, and I was, you know, the tools that I had were not effective enough to get me through what I needed to get through. And one of the things that really stuck out to me right quick was that the mind models didn't require any belief, and they didn't require me to be in a particular, you know, like a positive state, because so many things, you know, if you can't get to the state that you need to, that you created, you can't make it work. And in fact, in the course video, Blair stood on the stage and said, "Don't take my word for it." And I've heard him repeat that. And that really, you know, harkened back to some much earlier training that I had, which was similar. It had a similar statement about, you know, just if it works for you, great. If it doesn't work for you, but, you know, make it work. It's got to be practical in your life. And that's what I found. So I thought I had to understand the past. I was really trying to make peace with a lot from my past because of the current situation I found myself in. And I always thought I had to understand everything. And that, of course, is why. And why it wasn't working. And so, you know, with mind models, it was, they enable me to really get in the present and function in the present and not worry about the past.
Huge.
In business, so a huge amount of networking. I used to be the guy that, you know, go in a room and sit in a, you know, sit at a table off to the side or in the back and maybe talk to one or two people and you know, just kind of blended into the background. And I'm not that guy anymore. That I you know, I joined a networking group. Within 3 months I was leading one of the chapters of it, and you know, we became a known quantity, and you know, had people 6 months into, you know, attending the Blair Dunkley experience. In fact, I think it was Jackie that was the one that said, "You're not even the same person that you were when you first arrived." And that feedback was, you know, shocking to me. And now I see I'm not the same person, because I'm walking into rooms of 100 strangers and feeling like, you know, I'm completely comfortable, and not maybe like I own the place, but I'm happy to just walk up to anybody I want to and have a conversation. And that personal growth that's happened, all of that is through my use of the mind model. So and now I'm, you know, I'm also coaching people, and the mind models are, you know, instrumental there, especially in listening to them. So does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thanks for sharing, John. I
I
appreciate
would
it.
like to also, like John, gosh, huge kudos to you. No pun intended. It's cooter, but kudos anyway. But my point here is your self-confidence is like the highest I've ever seen it in your language. It is calm, it's direct, you take charge of yourself. It's just amazing to see. So very much, very transformative, and extremely well done. But John came into my life also at a very difficult time for me. I had just finished doing a mind model method coach training, and shortly after that, the next day, my wife asked for a divorce. And I was semi-blindsided. But, I was looking for support. John stepped in and offered to help me out, and it was highly effective for me. And I created this file that I have refused to change the name. Like basically it's sounding board John Cooter is the file name. So was my go-to place. So I created that, and that's still something that I guess I get sort of sentimental about. It's an anchor for me, and I appreciate it a ton. So thank you so much. Now, I don't know if this is the point, but at some point, one of my clients that we couldn't quite get into the congratulatory video there also sent me a video. I'm not going to do that, but I'm not going to play the video separately. But what he did and we did, he's one of my high-end clients. And what I wound up doing with him was creating Blair's cheat sheet of mind models. So it's got a whole bunch of mind models on it. And I was just thinking, now that I've announced it, do you mind if I just share that, guys? And just throw that up. I've got it in notes here. I believe that will be the thing that will work. There we go. So this is the cheat sheet that I'm currently, you guys see the Blair's mind model cheat sheet?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, no? Can you see
Yes.
it okay, John? Yeah, okay, good. So what I've got here is just a whole bunch of condensed versions of mind models here for people just to go through and read quickly as a refresher. And he used it as a daily refresher for himself, sometimes just picking 1, 2, or 3 of them and just saying, okay, these are there. That's where an ANPU came out right there. That's in there. PSR, attaboys, planned spontaneous recognition. Some of my quotes that he found interesting and put down there. Dreams become fantasies when you do not behave your desired results. Dreams become fantasies when you do not behave your desired results. You need to act, and habits fulfill dreams. Those are some of the things that I was telling him, because he had dreams, he had hopes, dreams, and desires, but they weren't working for him. So these are all these sort of things. So anyway, guys, what I'm working at right now, you guys, yeah, maybe you have or haven't heard of the Platinum Rule, but there's a book called The Platinum Rule out there. I can't take credit for that. I didn't come up with it. But anyway, that's going to be in this little, I'm going to produce an ebook so that it's all based on these cheat sheet notes so that people can get their hands on them. Anyway, that was, any thoughts, any comments? Okay, how come that stopped sharing? There we go.
There's
Okay.
certainly a lot of really effective material in the cheat sheets. It's just like something boiled down to essence.
Yeah.
Something
Nuggets.
boiled down to essence.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. So I'm working on that. I guess Jackie liked the essence of that. Hey, Jackie, I'm going to call upon you if you want to jump in here right now. So, anyway, out of everybody on this call, I think I've known you the longest, for a lot of years, decades. So anyway,
Well,
uh,
I am feeling so emotional, like a good emotion. That whole introduction video, I was just welling up with tears. It has such an impact on me. And it was funny, I was thinking earlier today, when I first met you, I had a very bad eating disorder. I was in a physically and emotionally abusive relationship. And I was at the point in my life, if somebody cut me off in the car, I'd try to rear end them. And once or twice I did. That's how screwed up I was. And thank God I found you and life skills.
you're going to have to explain to people what life skills are too now.
Okay, well, life skills, well, for me, it might be one thing, and for others, it might be another, but for me, it was a lifesaver because I learned all about myself. I learned that it was okay to have feelings or wants or needs or anything because I was so busy trying to please other people. And no wonder I was trying to hurt myself all of the time or being in bad situations. But what it was a whole bunch of skills that brings self-awareness.
Yep.
One of the major turning points is when, after I had finished the life skills program, I was still in an abusive relationship, but having like only one big toe in it.
Right.
And I used that program to help me get the strength because I knew I didn't have the strength on my own. I couldn't understand. Logically, I was like, what the heck are you doing? But I just couldn't separate myself from the emotional stuff. Anyway, the long and short of it, that's completely over. Many moons ago, probably like 30 years now. And I was thinking today when I was driving the car and about this evening, and I thought, I think, you know what, there's a good possibility I would have been physically seriously injured, not because of the relationship, because like I deal with manic depression, and I'd already thought I was able to fly enough that I jumped off a second-story building. Never really told anybody this before. The doctor said, you're very lucky you didn't puncture your spine. You know, apparently your vertebrae can go up into your spine. But I thought I could just be like the movies and roll over and get up. Well, I did roll over and I got up and then I fell down. And so it was all around that time. And I look back on that, and that is such a different person to where I am now. And even though the Blair Dunkley show here is a lot of business applications, but what I find is if I apply this to myself, you like Patty, her husband Lynn was saying, it applies everywhere. And at the age of 40, I decided I should probably try to, this is after, kept on traveling and stuff. I decided I better do something because how was I going to take care of myself? In 5 years of applying myself in real estate, I was able to buy 5 homes, not expensive, like I'm not like $1 million homes, and set myself up to the point where I'm retired now. And I don't think I could have done that.
Well done.
I get to travel like 8 to 9 months every year. And I just, it can't be for anything else because there's no way I could have had that functionality without these skills. I still feel like I'm growing every day. That's what I strive for. And thank you so much. And thank you everybody for being here and working through this, because, you know, like, even though we have the skills, I still have my off days.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that's okay, but it's like Patty's saying, I don't get into the black tunnel. Like, if anybody's really experienced it, like, who's visual,
Right.
you may not be visually auditory and everything just goes quiet, but
Yeah.
if you're visual, you cannot see a light at the end of the tunnel. Like, that's so true. And now I can choose to see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Hmm.
So
It's a tunnel with two ends instead of a hole with no bottom.
yes, and that's actually quite funny that you say that, because sometimes I've imagined I'm in the tunnel in my car and the rear view mirror is there, but I can see light at that end. But the direction I'm going in, there's no light. So it's like,
Mhm.
you know. Anyway, I can't really give you any the fear trap was one of the biggest things for me, biggest,
Mhm.
and safety versus comfort,
Mhm.
because I had to be safe. And also I realized how I would create unsafe spaces for myself just by the mind talk.
Mm.
One of my biggest things to focus on throughout all of this, if I say nothing else, is listen to yourself and decide whether you're going to act on it, tell it to poop off, or whatever. It's choices. I had choices. And another thing that was very impactful was the feedback formula, because I had to figure out how I felt before I was able to give feedback. And that was great, even though it was uncomfortable. Anyway, thank you so much.
You
Thanks.
are welcome. You add so much every time you show up. You add heart and insight and wisdom, and we appreciate every time you're here, Jackie. You
Yeah.
add great value.
I just, you know, I mean, through COVID, like, my week would be gauged by Tuesday, because it seems to be the only thing that I was able to get my ass out of bed for. You know what I mean? You know, but anyway,
Yeah. No, I hear you. This group has become a very supportive place
was
to
on
be.
my own, you know, like, I didn't have a family, so I was on my own, and the pods were all filled. Anyway,
Yeah, I hear you.
it's been amazing. And I tell everybody about you, and I constantly am sharing stuff and little insights with people, and people often say to me, wow, you're so wise, and I just go, my model.
Yes.
I get to see wise, you know. And
Yep.
yeah, so
Yep.
it's yeah, thanks
So
very
cool.
much.
Well done.
So, Brent, may I ask you a question? You've hung in here a long time with all of us.
Yeah.
Can you tell us what it is that keeps you here?
Oh
That
man,
keeps you coming back?
I'd say there's a few things, but one is learning. Like, I enjoy learning something new, and every time it was something I didn't want to miss learning, because I loved being around here, and I was improving myself and using the mind model. So I wanted to learn more the next time, and even share, and then gain some more improvement, especially in the beginning. I remember Blair used to do these um like what do you what were they called? What do you call them?
Profiling.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
profiling on each session. So you got to see that, like, individual, and then, like, for you to do it too. So it was really helpful to jump in there. And I remember that first time was quite opening to see yourself, like, truly, like, oh man, that's something I could sense it was there, but I didn't really know what to call it, how to point it out, and what to do to fix it, how to go forward. So that was what hooked me in, and then I just kept coming because I wanted to learn as much as I could. So, and then now I enjoy, the community and still learning something new where, it's been changing. It's altered a few different times, the platform and styles. So it hasn't gotten stagnant. So I enjoy coming and seeing everybody and hearing the different people and their points, things in their lives and how it's helped them. And so that's what keeps me coming. And I gotta say, like it's very comfortable for me now to be here. And I feel like it's something, or it feels like I'm missing something if I don't. Like I miss, that coming in and seeing everybody. I'll miss that like during the week if I haven't missed I've missed like once a year or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah,
That's
it's
in the
just deer
fall.
hunting
That's it.
season for the
That's
youth.
what I was going to
Yeah.
say. Hunting
Yeah.
season. Yes.
Annual hunting trip.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
Cool.
I do remember when Brent first came on back in the day, and it was really a joy watching him grow those first few sessions. It was like leaps and bounds. He was like moving ahead fast. This was really good, really cool watching.
Yep.
Thanks, Dwayne. And I felt that too. Like okay, I see this and I'll make these quick changes. I want to jump right in. And then I was like, I'm going. And I gotta say, like the first time I saw Blair, I think was when John, like we saw at the same time, the very first time, like you saw him on stage, I believe. And that was that I saw you presented on like the word why you went over that. And I'm like, exactly. I knew something was up, but I knew so I'm like, well, I want to know exactly what he's got, how much he's got. So I want to go and dig into it. So then that's when I got hooked into coming on. And I knew when he said he was doing these every week. So I was like, all right, it's perfect. So that was made it available.
Yep.
That was in Las Vegas, right? Where
Yeah, it was.
where we all seen.
Yeah.
yeah, we saw him in Vegas too. Shannon.
Well, actually, Brent saw me first.
Oh, yeah.
In
January.
LA.
Yeah, it was like
Yeah.
in January. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
About
that
6
was where I
months.
first saw you. Yeah, the workshop. And then you
Yep.
did the same thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep. Absolutely.
So, Christine, do you have any thoughts on mind models, their impact on you, your go-to mind models, anything you'd like to share with us?
Sure, Blair, it is absolutely nice to see you, and I apologize for some background noise. Oh God, I mean, I was just thinking about how it was when the pandemic hit, where you and I met.
Can you turn up the volume a little bit for us?
See,
Or
I don't know. Let's see, is that any better?
yeah, if
Yes,
you
it
get
is.
closer to your mic,
Yeah.
maybe.
Sorry about that, but
That's good. That's
okay.
great.
So Blair and I met at the beginning of the pandemic. And I started coming to the BDE religiously. I would walk out and every time I would pronounce to my husband, oh my God, that was the most amazing meeting ever. So that it became his routine when I walked out. He goes, I bet that was the most amazing meeting ever. And then because I always went into my little booth that he built me. And then one day he said to me, he's like, you don't have to shut the door. And so he would listen while I was in my little booth. And I mean, mind models, Blair, when you and I first met, a lot of the work I do embraced a lot of concepts that you talk about. But there were a lot of things though that you gave me language around that I didn't quite have words to articulate. So the question concepts were really that the language of that was really informative. But I think while there's a lot of elements of the work that you do that certainly impacts my professional world. And for those who don't know, I'm a professional negotiator. So there's a lot of the work pieces. It was really kind of, and I'm going to get emotional. It was really when things fell apart in 2021 when I realized that I had a problem with alcohol, and it was, you know, it was mind models that really helped me to see that I had that problem. I don't think that I would have recognized that I had an addiction issue if it hadn't been for the mind models. And they, coupled with the 12-step program I'm part of, they have changed my life. They've fundamentally changed my life. And the two concepts, you know, the 3 E's are the 3 E's, super effective. But the two concepts that impacted my life more than anything were the pivot post.
Oh,
That
Good one.
is, that's like, I would not have gotten sober without the pivot post. And curiosity, you reacquainted me with what curiosity meant, what it means to me. And in my sobriety journey, I work with a lot of women who are trying to get sober. And you know, I talk about curiosity a lot, and how life for me is now, instead of drowning I mean, even when I was in 2020, I'd go through a bottle or more of wine when we were on one of these calls every time. And then we'd finish the call and I'd go drink some more wine. And now I just have this, the best way to describe it is it may sound corny to people, I have a childlike wonder about the world. I am a giddy little kid, like most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time. The level of curiosity I have about people, about the world in me, those are things that you helped to connect me with, Blair. That the people who were, especially in that 2020 to 2021, 2022 world, were, you guys helped me see that. And I just was talking this today. I said, life is like going down the rabbit hole in Alice in Wonderland. There's no fucking end to. And how amazing is that? I mean, just how amazing, you know, to be able to walk through everyday life from the second I put my feet on the ground to the second I lay my head on the pillow and go, I wonder what's around the corner. Am I going to notice the breadcrumbs? Because life has left me breadcrumbs all over the place. Am I going to pay attention? What's next? What's next? What's around that corner? Right. And then when I happen to see something or I happen to experience something, and the other thing that you really did was around emotions. Naming and labeling is one of the most powerful tools. I teach every woman in sobriety the role of naming and labeling. Have every one of them do an exercise around getting more specific about emotions and narrowing in and giving themselves a really broad brush of what emotion is. But it's that curiosity, because curiosity has to come before, I think, naming and labeling. Because if I'm not curious, what the hell do I care about naming and labeling something? I have to first be curious. And I always thought I was curious, but oh man, I was not curious anywhere like I am now. I mean, it's just like everything excites me. Over Labor Day weekend, Memorial Day weekend here, I read The Journey of Crazy Horse. I did a 2-day seminar on quantum mechanics. I read a book on the archaeological history of Palestine. And I finished a book on the history of Standard Oil Corporation. It was written in 1904. Talk about curious. Oh, and then the day after that, I studied, like 5 hours of music theory. I mean, and guess what? I brought it all back to negotiation. Go figure.
No, I would expect you to do nothing less than that.
But it's the curiosity and the ability to name and label my emotions, and to be able to pivot and not feel guilty about needing to pivot, and not feeling I need to explain myself to anybody or justify it. So I'm just really grateful for you, Blair. I really am.
Thank you so much for making it.
Thank you.
You always
We-
add so
we
much
have-
color.
I'm sorry. Did you want to say something, Blair?
Yeah, I just said you always add so much color to the group when you come. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Just not in my hair this time.
Yeah, really. Yeah, I was wondering what happened. You got sober and you dulled down, or you
Yeah.
don't, because the rest of you is brightened up.
It's coming back. It's coming back.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Anyway, Jane, we have a link in the notes for the pivot post, the recording of the pivot post. If you could put that in the chat, please, for people that might be interested in listening to the rerun of that. Thank you.
Very, very powerful, by the way.
It is extremely powerful. So thank you
It's
so
done-
much for sharing, Christine.
Yeah, the pivot post is done by two people. Well, I created the pivot post and they applied the pivot post in their life. And it's Becky and Tim Graff. And they talk about how they were able to pivot their lives after they lost their two girls. The quick story on this is Mother's Day, I forget what year it was, but it was the year after they took a mind model method coach training. They went off to have a Mother's Day, and the daughters love going to this box canyon in Utah, Idaho, Utah, I think it is. And so they went to their favorite place to hike, and they were hiking up this box canyon, and there was a flash flood. And unfortunately, the three of them got swept down. Becky just about lost her life as well, but her two daughters that were 3 and 7, they didn't make it. They died there, and Tim was away working on the truck, and doing that sort of thing. Anyway, it's a tragedy. She wrote a book, I believe it's on Amazon.
Called Swept Away.
Yeah. But I brought them in because I thought they would be perfect people to teach the pivot post, at least talk about how they applied the pivot post in their lives. Anyway, it's there. You guys can watch it. Yeah, it's huge. So.
Okay, well, we have a few people we haven't heard from yet tonight.
Yep.
Jane, would you like to share what my models have done for you and your family?
Oh my goodness. It has helped change the language in our household. And there are days where I'll make a comment and one of the girls will come back and say, would you be more specific, using specific versus general? Or we'll be discussing something else, and just the other day, Jackie comes back and she goes, well, if it wasn't for the risk, trust, honesty triangle and understanding that, this wouldn't make any sense to me. And it was just like, wow, they're just coming back with the mind models at me. And the feedback formula has made a difference in how we treat each other. And so we're still evolving and learning and growing with the mind models. But when we mention something that is mind model related, we shift. We do that pivot and go, oh yeah, we should, or we could, or what might be differently if we didn't mention that, or we just it gives us a chance to learn and grow together. It's not just one person, it's the whole family is growing. In fact, they have come up with this new plan of action, and I went, well, what brought this about? Well, we've just learned to accept the fact that, and then I'm just like mind blown that the changes that we're seeing in our household. So it's
That's
exciting.
exciting. Thank
It's,
you. Gary, would you like to share with us any way that mind models have impacted your life, your relationships, a go-to mind model, anything?
I'll share a bit more about my my journey and my observation of the last decade. So had the privilege of meeting Blair more than a decade ago at an event called Awesomeness Fest. And out of all the different speakers, there's a lot of phenomenal speakers, but the only one or top one or two people that I can recall that wowed the whole audience was Blair with his profiling, and everyone was like, jaws was dropped. And during one of the meal breaks, I was lucky enough, one of my friend had wanted to try out the profiling, and the stuff that he said without her telling him about anything about her life, and he was getting it like 90+% accurate. And I remember he says that I try not to get it like over 80% because it'll freak people out. And I come from a background of similar to Brent. I love learning and big into personal development, spent hundreds of thousands of dollars and met some incredible teachers along the way. And I have to say, like, Blair staying on a lane of his own. His methodology and who he is as a character, I always look at him as like a little kid in a candy store with all this technology and touching lives and going around and just with so much joy and excitement to make an impact. And yeah, like it's an amazing journey. Like he's been doing that for ever since I've known him. The passion has always been there. And in the last 3 years of my life, I guess similar to was shared earlier, like with Jackie, like I jumped off the two-story place as well, like through my own dark night and spiritual journey. And I thought, like, Blair, like, he's this scientific person, like he wouldn't relate to what I was going through. And when he shared with me, like, he had his like own spiritual journey back when he was like really young in his childhood, I just like look at this whole thing. It's like, wow, like Blair is such a wonderful soul that's been blessed. We've been blessed within our lifetime to have him shine our light on us through in his own life. There are times that it wasn't easy. In fact, there was time that is incredibly difficult, but nevertheless is never wavered in his mission, in what he set out to do. And the 300 episode is a testament of that, the unwavering commitment and his passion to share ways to help humanity move forward. If there was a one my model framework I use the most, is the why. I used to in my company, it was at its peak, it was rated like the second best place to work in Australia. Google came number one, my company came second. And one of the books that we always talk about is Start With Why. And we tell people, and then after Blair shared about like the why and how the TED Talk is flawed with he transform it to what's instead. So when I have friends that talk about their why, like why is this happening to me, and like I always say, hey, don't get into why. It's going to get into a loop. It doesn't go anywhere. So yeah, I just want to like thank Blair and all of you for having me here. It feels like people attend 21st party or weddings. I feel like this is a gathering to celebrate all the work that Blair has done, and I blame him, like, for the last 50 minutes or however long we've been on here. Like, I've been nonstop smiling, so my jaw is kind of sore right now hearing all your stories. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. We got Leslie. Would you like to share anything?
Sure. I hope it's coming across clear enough. I got a new graphics video card on my computer and it keeps hanging up, and that's why the jittering, and I've been cutting in and out.
Well, you're clear for the moment.
Yep. Let's hope it lasts. it's been great. A year ago, almost just a year and 2 weeks ago, I had a knee replacement. And recovering from that, I was wonderful to learn how to live life without pain. And I got all excited and about everything. And a good friend of mine introduced me to Blair. And started, I think it was towards the end of August. So I'm the newbie in the crowd, I think.
I don't know.
It's
I was going to say,
Matt,
I think
yes.
Matt might rival you for that spot.
Okay, Matt rivals me. I agree, but it has been incredible because I've learned how to recapture myself. I've been able to start to think again before acting, putting the pause into place and just thinking. Constant reminder right here on the edge of my monitor are the 3 E's. They've been probably the most effective for me. I can't do anything on my computer without seeing that. We've had some, well, through the experience of this book is getting full, I almost need another one. I think there's only 5 or 6 pages left of notes from meeting through here. And it's been awesome. I do write in it more than just during these events. And it does help me. I get to flip back and look. I see the things that I've highlighted, and certainly Anapu is here a few times as being one thing that really helps. Self-other situation. I mean, there's just so many tidbits that I've picked up and that I find that I am using on a daily basis. 2 weeks ago, Blair, you put me through a bit of a session with what was going on at the time that was with my business that was extremely difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I did share that with some of you. It's in the past.
Mm-hmm.
It's been resolved. This piece of equipment is going back. We're going to be getting a refund. They just seem to want to drag their butt on getting that refund to me. But the able to manage through that.
Yeah.
You know, it's been positive. A year ago, wouldn't have been able to do it. There would have been a mess. It just would have been a mess in so many levels, so many directions. So it's also these mind models have also given me confidence to explore other things that were dreams, and I hope to get back into them here. Investing being one of them. This business nonsense that was going on has taken me away from investing, but certainly we're getting things back into line here where we can start doing that again and get back to the norms that we had so much started to enjoy.
So, Leslie, it's so exciting to hear you share. I'm wondering if other people are noticing what I am in terms of the strength and tone of your voice, the self-confidence that you exude, that you that you're speaking with so much clarity. I wonder, do you notice that you are not the same person either that you started when you were here? Do you notice the change in yourself?
Of course I do.
But well
And
done.
other people are, my wife certainly acknowledges it.
Yeah.
And my son, who is in business with me, has noticed it, and often comment about it. So, yeah.
Yeah, well done, Leslie. Really
Thank you.
well done.
It's,
Matt, would you
and
like to
this-
share? Oh, I'm sorry.
This group too, every Tuesday night, it's not often that I miss it. I know I have. There was a thing called a hockey game going on.
Yeah, I heard about that. I heard about that whole hockey thing.
But most Tuesdays I am here, and I thoroughly appreciate and thank everyone for the support and knowledge, sharing of knowledge, and how everybody talks about getting through all these
Mhm.
challenges where we are allowed to make choices.
Exactly.
Yoo-hoo!
Yes.
Thank you.
Woohoo. Matt,
Woohoo.
would
Thank
you
you.
like to share? You've been with us a very short time, but would you have anything you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, it's pretty cool just sitting here and listening to every single one of you, everybody's stories, to what I think is kind of the Blair Dunkley empowerment experience.
That's
What I
interesting.
can see is you have empowered just about every single person, and you have empowered every single person on this call. As I'm speaking about it right now, it's giving me goosebumps. I learned about you through Zach, and I learned about you through Shane. I found out a little bit more about you, and reasons for that is when I met Zach a few years ago. I just really, I don't know. He came across and showed me the power of how to be a leader, how to do certain things, about just how to understand people, how to listen, how to do certain things, and Zach empowered me. And through that, I realized that a lot of that came from getting some help from Blair. And then once I learned about that, there's another guy on this call that had to leave due to a tornado, unfortunately. Shane is somebody that has become one of my closest friends and accountability partners through this journey. That would have never happened because if I didn't meet Zach, and become, part of the little group he's got going on. So it's pretty cool. I tonight is a big one for me because I'm sitting here and I'm listening to all the stories of what you have done for people, Blair. I've missed the last couple of weeks because I've been having some struggles under my roof. Just a little bit with some kids and sleeping, and it feeding down into my wife and our sleep and well-being and not being normal people. So yeah, we're still dealing with that, but it's at the same time as that I sitting here, I realize that I can't miss any more of these calls. As much as I've said it before a couple weeks ago when I was on one of the calls that every time I come on here, I get a big sense of a nice deep breath, and I leave every one of these calls feeling better about myself, feeling empowered, and just seeing that how much of an impact you have made on every single one of these people here. I've done some changes already in my life just because of your call. I've been trying to do just things about like listening to some audiobooks, listening to some different things to just try and clear my mind, do the right things, be a better dad, be a better human being all around. So to hear everybody's stories and be one of the last ones to talk about this, yeah, it's pretty cool to see the journey that you've been a part of with everybody here. And I can say that I look forward to joining that journey with every single one of you here. And if I don't start showing up and I miss the call or something like that, yell at me.
I was going to say, I think Zach and Shane know where you live, so.
Yeah, so I just want to, yeah, I have to say, I want to thank every single one of you. Some of you I haven't met on this call before, some of you I have, but every single one of you have empowered me. And I think that comes from that Mr. Blair Dunkley there, that he's empowered all of us. I think it's a pretty cool feeling. Like I say, I'm saying it again, I'm getting goosebumps. It's pretty cool. Shout out to you, Blair.
Yes,
Thank
we
you,
are
thank you.
very glad to have you with us, Matt. Blair, I am concerned for Dwayne. Dwayne, do you want to talk? Blair could take a little minute with you here. He is having, there you are. Do you want to take a minute? I know that Tim and Becky's story is really impacting you.
Yeah.
Can we support you through that?
I just need a few minutes.
Yeah.
Dwayne, it was, when I found out too, it was horrible. It was like unimaginable. I couldn't grasp it. Like I even remember like messaging John on Facebook and saying, is this a joke? Like, what sick joke is this?
Mm-hmm.
It's unbelievable, Dwayne. And you know, you had such a close connection with Becky and Tim. We all did there. And to
You
know,
were all in training, coach training together, weren't you?
yeah, we were. And to know that's happened and you haven't even been able to share your condolences and all of that stuff, it's just rough there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad you came back on the camera though.
Yes.
See your pretty face there, Dwayne. Come on, let's see it. All right, we got it. Yeah.
I was going to say, Dwayne, I can tell you, I mean, I've talked with Tim and Becky recently. I think John has seen Tim and Becky recently. Their experience has created for them a platform where they are impacting lives of other people who have suffered loss and have, they're impacting the first responder world with more effective models and understanding. They're impacting those who are in various states of grieving over various losses. They have turned their sorrow and their grief and their experience into a mission. And they travel and they speak and they're putting together resources for their website to help people work through the process that they worked through, people who don't have the tools. So as painful as this is, and there was never an intent on our part to ambush anyone with their story.
Oh, I understand. I totally understand that. I was just caught completely off guard.
Yeah. It was a blind side for you, Dwayne. It was totally blindsiding. And but I do want you to know that they have managed their past and they are very present with a missional sense of purpose in equipping other people with the tools that helped them.
Yeah, you know what though, like I that's all great information, Patty, but when you're actually hearing it for the first time, it really
Yes.
sets you up.
Yeah,
Sorry,
it really does. It really does.
what you're from, but like Dwayne seeing, like I remember me, and I can totally get what's going on, and I'm wondering like what's happening for him right now. Dwayne?
I'll be good. It's just in
Yeah.
the past year I've lost my father, my sister, my mother-in-law, and a son-in-law, and it just kind of caught me off guard.
Icing
Yeah.
on the cake.
And
What?
I've used the models, and I'm shining through every day, and I know I'll get through this. It's just I think the group knows I'm an emotional person. It just got to hit me hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know your wife has been relying on you a lot with the death of the mother,
Mhm.
to be really strong for everybody else. And hey, buddy, this is your time.
I'm good. I'm good. It just
No,
takes
you're
me a second to kind of work through it.
say you're good, but I know you're a little mushy teddy bear in there.
Yes.
Yeah, you are. So what are we gonna do next? Like, what do you want to do? How do you want to move on from
Oh,
this?
I'm good. I just needed, I just had to get it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, doing the gap analysis on it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's,
And remembering to get yourself back to the present,
Mhm.
because that's one of the things, one of the things you might want to do, honestly, is go to the link to the pivot post, because
Yeah.
Becky and Tim actually teach that, and they reference their personal experience and how they used that mind model, the pivot post, to get themselves, each in a different way, but each using other mind models and faith to pull themselves out.
yeah, I planned on it. I was sitting here thinking about that just a minute ago, that I needed to go watch that.
Yeah, it's brilliant because both of them are sharing their experiences and how they used the pivot post, and they teach it from such a real world position and how it impacted them. They talk about the fact that, in fact, Tim's father was mad at them because Tim and Becky were able to get their lives back in order and move forward, not with forgetting about their daughters that they lost, but by incorporating them actively into their lives going forward, even though they've passed, without being morbid, without being ripped up about it, but knowing what the facts are. They're never going to see them again. They've passed on, but making a purpose and finding their own purpose, which is absolutely huge. And they were able to do that. That's what's in the book Swept Away, and also in the pivot post that they taught, and well, co-taught with me. So it was absolutely
Well,
amazing.
to everybody in here, that's what's so great about these mind models, is you're able to work through things like this relatively quickly.
Yep.
And get reestablished without spiraling completely out of control. Which in my old days I would have. I'd be heading for a bottle of booze right now if I hadn't done mind models to try to cope with the pain that I know that they experienced, and I know they've had time to move on from, and I'll be good from it. I just absorbing it and will get myself through it very easily. I'm confident of that.
It took them weeks, not months, to move through this, which Tim's dad was absolutely pissed off at Tim and Becky because he hadn't figured out how to move forward.
Right.
And he was trapped in his grief.
Right.
But you can express your grief, you're going to grieve for the rest of your life.
Well, yes.
But you do it in a healthier way, as opposed to staying stuck in an endless. I've done some grief counseling back in the day at life skills colleges, and you know what? Some of those people were stuck in their grief for 10, 15 years.
Mhm.
And
I've
they
never-
were able to move on in less than 2 months and get their heads basically glued on. Would they break down and cry? Sometimes, yes, but they called that normal.
Mhm.
And it was,
Yes.
because it was sad. It's incredibly tragic.
Yes.
But they also knew that's the emotion that they were feeling in that moment, and they chose to feel that emotion, the loss.
Mhm.
But then, 5 minutes to an hour later, they choose a different emotion because they figured out how to choose their feelings.
And that's basically what I was doing. Is I didn't bury it down and try to subdue it.
Exactly.
I let it come out. I let it flow.
Good job.
That, and now, like you say, I will pivot back into.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well done, Dwayne.
Yep.
I just have to say, one of my favorite things to pivot is to take a deep belly breath, where you kind of like, oh.
Yeah.
I did have one question before I learned of the news here that I was going to ask. Canada actually gave Jackie a driver's license. That is so scary.
Oh gosh.
And I can
Shannon,
say
I
that
don't-
because I hung with Jackie. We were buds at training.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway, Shannon, I don't remember if you got a chance to share or not.
Not yet.
And
Thank you for everybody.
then
Thanks, Dwayne.
when you're done, we'll you're the last one.
All right. It was really rewarding and touching to hear all of the ways that business applications are what kind of first piqued, I think, my family's main interest in the material. But when I was thinking back on where I was as a person when it started, and when we began the whole journey with getting to know the mind model material and really incorporating them in an active and intentional part of our lifestyle separately and together as a family team, I've been at several crossroads. I have had multiple surgeries and chronic and acute health issues since I was a teenager. And I always felt this really tremendous sense of responsibility to do the things that I should do. And I did a lot of really great work, but it wasn't work that aligned well with who I was as a person and did not lead to great results. And one of the things that just through this whole wave of listening has been coming back to me is a NANPU, the awareness, the noticing, processing, and understanding, coming to that place, not just, about situations, which is usually where I start. I try to, go there and work it backwards, but to really get to know myself and to be able to build a sustainable, effective life with what and who I am as a person, and the skills and the gifts and the talents and the things that, really inspire me and I'm able to contribute to the world in an active place. So I've gone from, in and out of multiple dark holes and dark places. And I have to say, Mom, your little quote about a tunnel with two ends instead of a hole with no bottom, that I love that so much. But yeah, that's one of the biggest themes of the whole journey at this point of reflection going backwards, is being able to notice and reconnect with myself, can maybe connect with myself in an intelligent way for the first time in my life, and to get to know who I am and to build that self-confidence. So it's not just, recycling the same type of a thing over and over. It's having tools to actually be able to build. And I feel like my life for the first time is on a more, you know, there are things that haven't changed and there are pains that always are. But as a human being, to actually have my feet and my life on a solid foundation where there are things that do not, I used to be really, really anxious and worried all the time that my whole entire world would fall apart if ... And to go through the process over the past 5 or 6 years and to really take a good hard look and say, actually, that would really, really suck. But I have skills. And when things happen, I can break them down and move through them so much more quickly than ever before. They're not tidal waves that pull you under. They are little ocean sprays that annoy me, and then I move on. And I, after my last surgery 3 years ago, had the tools, because everything that I, you know, had done needed to change, had the tools to, for the first time, actually do a fair and balanced evaluation and use that information. It wasn't used for self-condemnation or judgment or falling into the pit of, ooh, you know what I mean? It wasn't any of that. It was just raw material to have a conversation, you know, where my dad was like, he's like, I just, you know, take everything you know about business and the things that you think should be and park those and try to think about what you enjoy doing. What do you like to do? What are you good at doing? And I ended up, you know, starting a program about 9-10 months after that conversation. And I just finished the certification for that this past week. I had my exam and I made my examiner tear up with the quality of the work that I was doing. And so much of that ability to actually have a job and a group and coworkers and things that are stable and normal and healthy that I actually love doing. I talk about mind models every day in my classes and I use them with my students. I have an ability to manage my mind. I had an infectious brain trauma when I was 19 and 2 concussions as an adult. And to be able to not only get to know myself, not beat the shit out of myself, but know how to develop a process. If something is messy and something isn't working, it's not the end of the world. I just say, okay, well, what do I need to do to make this work? You know, what can I do? I have a little marching thing that I do with my nephew to help manage frustration when he tests something that it doesn't work, and we march around the house and we go test, fail, evaluate, test, fail, evaluate, test, fail, evaluate, test, succeed. Because you know, he's a toddler, but to manage the fact that if he does something that doesn't work the first time, you don't throw your toy across the room. Let's say, what might we do about that? And it works. It works whether you can't even speak yet. It works, you know, it's great. And that, you know, it's the self-confidence has given me the ability to do so many different things than I ever thought I would be able to do without anxiety, without this constant sense of pressure or fear. That it's I do know who I am now, and I do like myself now, and I can do things, and I have, you know, it's given me the tools to build a life in a world that works. You know, and it's tremendous. It's absolutely tremendous. Acceptance, Ananpu, the data that you use talking about how naming and labeling and the impact of words, specifically the part of the brain that processes language, I think it's the temporal lobe.
Yeah, temporal lobes. Yep.
Touches the entire, that's the only part of the brain that touches the whole rest of the brain. And so honing in on words, what they mean and how we behave to them, it's a rich world of being able to step in to yourself and to your situations and to your others and flourish. And you know, it doesn't have to do with, you know, my life is not perfect. It is far from the bumps and the hard things and the things that come flying. And there are many, many things I wish could be different if I had a magic wand right now. But tools to make it work, even in the middle of all of those things, in a way are a weird magic wand of their own to people who don't have them. And
That is true.
it's very, I will get frustrated when I look around, because I sometimes think that everybody is curious, and I sometimes think that everybody cares about integrity or working hard or things like that, because that's, you know, things that I was raised around. And I remember the day when I looked around and I realized not everybody's like me. Not everybody has the same, you know, tools or principles or values or things, and the ability to cultivate something really unique and find ways of sharing that with people, you know, and then to, you know, realize, okay, I might have the most skills in this room right now. What can I do with them? And so yeah,
Okay, girl.
it's been a tremendous thing. You know, kind of jumped into the deep end years ago with IBC and my model method coach training and some of those things. Oh, thank you. Yes, the bubbles.
Those bubbles are for everybody who's shown up for Blair tonight.
Yes.
These are for everybody who's shown up for themselves with my models. And these are for everybody who's shown up for us so faithfully on the BDE. We hope that you'll continue to join us way up until number 400 as we look to create new patterns and take the BDE in directions that work for the people who attend. So Blair, would you like to share anything at all before we
Be better.
check out?
I will, yeah. I
I'm
just
sorry, what?
wanted to thank everybody for showing up tonight
Yes.
and making the comments and letting me know. As you know, my health has not been the greatest in the last few months, and I've had a lot of dark days myself, and dark moments. Again, I for those of you that have dark days and dark moments, I have this love-hate relationship with mind models, because sometimes I wish I could pity myself a little bit more. But I give myself a few moments of going back to the past and poor little old me. We used to call that plumbing, poor little old me, PLOM, plumbing, poor little old me. But I can't stay there because I'm too skilled. I hate that. I love it too, because, you know, I figure out a way through it. I figure out how to put myself out and how to get myself resourceful. And eventually I do. And I love your little marching thing there, Shannon, where you march around and, you know, you test it. Always test these things out and evaluate and move forward. So it's been actually a privilege to be able to do 300 episodes of the BDE. You guys have been a safe place every Tuesday night for me to share with you and create a safe place for you guys to come to learn and figure out how to apply these to yourselves so you can change your own lives and test it out. Like it's been said a few times here, you do not have to believe in the mind models. And sure as hell, don't believe me. Don't trust me. Test it. Test the mind models. See if they work. See how they work. And that's the best news of all, because now I've heard it from you guys and, you know, a half dozen more people in the videos, how you've actually taken the mind models and applied them and changed your own life. Because I know all I did is created tools that I needed for my business at Life Skills Colleges, and then creating a business and creating the mind models there and testing them so that people would stay alive. I don't know if you know this, but as vice president and eventually as president and owner of Life Skills Colleges, 80% of our student population was potentially suicidal. So the psychological stuff was not working well, so or fast enough. And in 35 years of being part of that college and vice president, trainer, and head of research and development, I created something that eventually wound up becoming known as mind models that were identifiable, repeatable, and duplicatable. And so that you guys could take them, apply them to your lives, and change yourself. Put the power back in your hands. Anyway, guys, with that, I just want to, from the bottom of my heart, very genuinely thank you all for showing up here. It's been an honor and a privilege to have you guys show up. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Mwah.
Yep, I think that will be.
Pleasure.
Are we good to call that a wrap, Blair?
I think so.
Okay.
We'll be back next week. I don't know, Zach, did you want to take us out? Or is there any need to?
No, I think we're good.
I
Okay,
think we're good too.
okay.
So
So I
well
will be
done,
back
guys.
next week with 3 episode. Well, actually, Patty and I will be back next week. We've already prepped out episode 301. So come on out and see what it's all about and bring others. So help change some lives. That's what it's always about. So that people can change their own lives.
yes.
Okay, with that, have a great night,
All
and I
right.
will
Take care,
love
everybody.
you all.
We
and I will
appreciate
see
you
you
so
next-
much.
You guys take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Blair.
You're very welcome.